So let's do another video. Let's say what's going on in Iran. Iran vows revenge for an alleged Israeli attack on Natanz nuclear site. Things not looking good in Iran. So, best put my headphones on actually. The article, they do explain how some stuff about nuclear enrichment, which I found really interesting. So we'll look at that in a sec. So, Iranian Foreign Minister has said the country will take revenge for an attack on an underground nuclear site for which it has blamed Israel. Iranian officials said that the Natanz uranium enrichment plant was the target of a nuclear terrorism on Sunday after initially reporting a power failure. So it's very possible that the power failure was caused maybe by terrorists, who knows. Israel did not comment, but a public radio cited intelligence sources as saying it was a Mossad cyber operation. So if that's the case, then this is international terrorism. But no surprise there from Spec Ops, especially them guys in Israel. They do this sort of stuff a lot. They said, so this is Iran. The source, the Mossad source, saying they said it had caused more extensive damage than Iran had actually reported, and U.S. intelligence saying that a large explosion had destroyed the independent internal power system that supplied the centrifuges inside the underground facility. They estimate it could take at least 9 months to resume enrichment there, which is a long time. So this is from an Iranian news agency saying the main perpetrator has been identified and an operation was underway to arrest them. So we'll see what happens with that. Israel has recently stepped up its warnings about its archfoe's nuclear program. Everyone, do you guys remember when Netanyahu walked onto the stage holding like a cartoon bomb with like the line that says nuclear enrichment? It was hilarious. So the 2015 nuclear deal was abandoned by former President Trump, which has led to Iran saying, all right, then we're going to enrich uranium. Do something. His successor, Joseph R. Biden, said he wants to return to the landmark accord, but Iran and 5 other world powers still party to it. China, France, Germany, Russia, and the UK need to find a way for him to lift the sanctions and for Iran to return to the agreed nuclear program. So the issue is that, are Iran going to start lowering the amount of uranium they enrich, or are the US going to lift the sanctions first? And that's the key problem that both countries are having. So US and Iranian officials are holding indirect talks in the Austrian capital Vienna, trying to break the impasse, with European officials acting as intermediaries. But the thing is, just get the leaders in a room to talk about what's going on and why they can't come to an agreement. That's the key here. No middlemen, just get them to talk. The European Union said it still needed to clarify the facts about the Natanz incident, but they're saying that we still want to carry on. We still want this to not peace talks, but these nuclear talks to happen. So we got Lloyd Austin, who is visiting Israel, the US Defense Secretary, saying that he's aware of the reports at the Natanz about Natanz, and said the Biden administration's diplomatic efforts to re-engage with Iran would continue. So this is the basics. World powers don't trust Iran. Some countries believe Iran wants nuclear power because it wants to build a nuclear bomb. It says Iran denies this. In 2015, Iran and 6 other nations came up with the Iran nuclear agreement. It's got some weird name, JCA something, lots of letters. What's the problem now? And this is the problem with the BBC, which is that it's claiming that Iran, it puts the onus on Iran, saying that Iran restarted banned nuclear work after former President Donald Trump pulled out of the deal and reimposed sanctions, when it should say former President Donald Trump broke the agreement and reimposed sanctions on Iran, which led to Iran, in retaliation, enriching uranium to 20%, which is above the agreed limit. Like, come on, BBC. Don't make me do your job for you, man. Don't make me have to do it. This is from Iran. This is the foreign minister saying the Zionists want to take revenge and blah, blah, blah. They have publicly said they will not allow this, but we will take our revenge from the Zionists. So we'll see what Iran are actually going to do. And the more Israel do stuff like this, it does allow the Iranian state to deflect from their own failings when it comes to COVID and the situation when the US had murdered the Iranian general. It does allow the Iran to kind of deflect away from issues internally and say that, all our problems are caused by those damn Jews in Israel. That's kind of the take Iran are going to take. That's the kind of the stance Iran are going to take from this. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Saeed Khatibzadeh, I don't know how to pronounce that, later told a news conference in the capital, Tehran, that Israel, of course, was behind the attack. Since they know the perpetrator of the attack and have identified them, that's going to be interesting to see what's happened and what happens with that. The incident, fortunately, did not cause any damage to human lives, which is very surprising, or the environment. However, it could have been a catastrophe, which is true. This is a crime against humanity, carrying out such actions, and if Israel did cause an explosion within a nuclear site, it does show you how kind of crazy the intelligence forces are within Israel, because this could have been a complete disaster. So Mr. Khatibzadeh said only the least efficient IR-1 centrifuges were damaged in the incident, and they would be replaced with more advanced ones. Iran's talking about some sort of IR-9 and IR-6 and IR-8 centrifuges, so we'll see what happens there. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is embroiled in his own kind of problems, did not mention the incident at all at a later joint news conference. He said, "My policy is very clear. I will never allow Iran to obtain the nuclear capability to carry out its genocidal goal of eliminating Israel." Again, Iran denies wanting a nuke in the first place, and if they did want a nuke, they would never have signed up to the Iran nuclear deal. And Israel will continue to defend itself, which tells you that most likely it was Israel that caused this, judging by what he's saying here. So we have some analysis from Frank Gardner, who says the undeclared near war between Iran and Israel is heating up. Follows a series of tit-for-tat actions around the Middle East. There have been mysterious explosions on ships, hulls blamed variously on both countries, and most significantly last November, there was the assassination in broad daylight near Tehran of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, names. The man suspected of leading Iran's nuclear program, like he was fully murdered, like his car blew up and then they gunned him down. The Israeli Air Force also carried out numerous strikes against missile bases in Syria and other sites where Iranian advisors have been providing assistance to units of Hezbollah, the Shia Islamist group. Israel sees Iran's nuclear program as a potential threat to its existence and is determined to delay and stop it, which again further feeds into the idea that this was Israel, Israel, a country that also has nuclear weapons. It does not see any point in current efforts to revive the Iran nuclear deal, because Israel does want a war with Iran, but they want the US to back him on it. The attack on Natanz is likely to strengthen the hand of Iran's hardliners and complicate any further negotiations, which again is something else that Israel wants to happen. So the nuclear deal only allows Iran to use IR-1 centrifuges to produce limited quantities of uranium enriched up to 3.67% concentration, which can be used to produce fuel for commercial power plants. Uranium that is enriched to 90% or more can be used for nuclear weapons. So Iran, being stuck with these centrifuges, has no chance of enriching uranium up to anywhere near the amount that they need in order for a bomb. Iran, which insists it does not want nuclear weapons, has rolled back, has kind of broken the rules around the Iran nuclear deal after Donald Trump imposed sanctions. I know I did the thing where I flipped around the two when I should have mentioned Donald Trump first, but I've already mentioned that. Come on, guys. These have included operating advanced centrifuges, resuming enrichment to 20% concentration, and building a stockpile of that material. But again, they need to get it to 90% enrichment to have a nuclear bomb. So on Saturday, Iran marked Nuclear Technology Day, which I had no idea was a holiday. President Rouhani inaugurated a cascade or cluster of 106 advanced IR-6 centrifuges at Natanz, and also launched tests on new IR-9 centrifuges, which officials said could enrich uranium 50 times faster than IR-1, but it doesn't say that it could enrich uranium to a higher quality or to 90% enrichment compared to the IR-1 centrifuges. So again, if it's the case that they just want to enrich more uranium for a stockpile or for electricity and power purposes, it's a bit of a non-issue. So there's that stuff there. There was the video. So
the silver cylinders here being shown to Iran's president. Centrifuges spin the uranium at incredibly high speeds. This separates out the lighter uranium-235 atoms from heavier U-238 atoms. Low enriched uranium is where you have 3 to 5% of U-235. This can be used as fuel in a nuclear power plant. If you keep...
So Iran can only have it up to 3.67 under the agreement of the Iran nuclear deal, which is still lower than what you would most likely have for electricity.
Enriching it so there's a higher percentage, it can be used in research and medical applications. And if you enrich it all the way up to 90%, then it can be used to make a nuclear bomb.
So, it kind of tells you that Iran are a million miles away from having enriched uranium up to having a nuclear bomb, and that if you have it up to about 20%, which Iran has it now, you can use it for medical purposes and other things. So, clearly Iran will hopefully just use it for those reasons and not doing anything stupid. But, many other countries have nuclear bombs. I read this in CNBC, which does tell me how badly American news outlets can be in certain regards, especially when it comes to foreign policy, which says, since January, Iran has begun enriching uranium up to 20% purity, a technical step away from weapon grade levels. So we know weapons grade levels at 90%, so they're about 60% away from having weapons grade uranium. Like, why lie? Why do this to yourself, CNBC, the money channel? Why are you lying for? Anyways, the takeaway from this video is that there seems to be, things heating up between Iran and Israel, with Israel, maybe not causing this explosion at a nuclear facility, which is incredibly dangerous, which could have killed people and caused an environmental disaster, and Iran vowing to take revenge. But yeah, it's not a shocker there. But what we can gather from this video is that Iran, still enriching uranium above the agreed limits, in retaliation to Donald Trump pulling out of the Iran nuclear agreement, which he should never have done. It was so stupid and rash that he did that. So Joe Biden needs to go back into the Iran nuclear deal. But the thing is, how do you convince Iran to go back to the old 3.67 levels of allowed enriched uranium? That's going to be the tough bit. But I'm glad my name isn't Joseph R. Biden, so that's not my job. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.